This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 86 of the Stable Scoop Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, The Big Boot Show. Please support our sponsors as they make this show possible. Equestrian Collections brings the whole universe of equestrian shopping to your fingertips. Visit them at equestriancollections.com. And also The Barnworks, marketing services for equestrians. Visit them at thebarnworks.com.
Welcome to the Stable Scoop, with weekly shows delivered right to you. With Helena and Glenn the Geek, live from the stable, it's every week. They bring you the news through hail or high water, while using their tails as their own fly swatters. So sit on down and laugh till you poop, cause it's time again for Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop.
This is Glenn the Geek.
And this is Helena B. And you're listening to the Stable Scoop Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network.
All right, I'll let you recover here, Helena. I have a little music for you about today's show.
You keep saying you got something for me, something you call love, but confess.
When's the last time you heard this?
I love that song.
Where you shouldn't have been a messin', and now someone else is getting all your best. These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you.
Well, there you go. That sort of goes with today's themes. That's the closest I could come up with.
That's pretty good, and it put me in a good mood.
Yeah, I
It got me
know. I
wiggling
love that.
in my
That's
chair.
Nancy Sinatra, by the way, 1966.
And you know, and everybody listening to this episode is going to have that song stuck in their head for the next week, and they're going to go, "Where did I get that from?"
That is an addictive one, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and you know, I didn't realize that, who was it that just did Jessica Simpson did a new version of that.
Oh.
I had a hit song with that, too. But I like the old one, so I love the
Yeah. I like that 60s twang you
Yeah.
get going there.
So there you go. Well, now I guess we should tell everybody that the show's about boots.
Yes, horse boots. And it's funny because, I'm kind of a doofus. I look through these catalogs, horse products, tack catalogs, whatever, and I wish that I had a reason to put boots on my horse, because it looks like there are so many great types of boots. There's so many neat colors and materials and reasons for horses to wear boots. And I don't understand even a fraction of them. So today we're going to talk to Dr. Jolene Elston, and she's from Professional's Choice, who is one of the leading manufacturers of horse boots. And we're going to learn a little bit about everything that horse boots can do for you, and do you and your horse need them.
Well, that's exciting. You know, I actually did use Professional's Choice boots on my pony when I was driving my pony years ago.
What kind of boots?
We used the Professional's Choice SMB boots.
The supportive.
Yep,
Yeah.
because she needed that kind of support. She was kind of an older pony, and we used her for driving, and that's the only reason she could keep going, is because of those boots. And it's interesting that you picked boots as a topic this week, and Professional's Choice specifically, because, of course, Professional's Choice is the choice of most Western riders, and, of course, we had a couple of Western shows here.
Yes, we did. They have a nice balance of products, though. I mean, and that's kind of what I'm interested in learning is what type of athletic work that a horse is in. Which boots are appropriate for which type of athletic work a horse is in, and how different Western riding is from English riding when it comes to support boots.
Well, you know, and I do, if you don't mind, I'm going to steal a little bit here and make an announcement today.
Ooh.
That within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we are going to have our first Western show on the network.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I know.
With my two new favorite hosts.
That's correct. If everybody remembers, in episode 84, a couple weeks ago, we did a show about barrel racing in the WPRA, the Women's Professional Rodeo Association. And we had Alan Moorhead, who was the announcer and the guy with the really deep voice. And then we also had Jimmy K. Davis, who was the past president of the Rodeo Association. Well, they have both now agreed to become the co-hosts of the new Western show.
What are we going to call the show?
It's the westernradioshow.com.
Okay.
It's very simple. You know how we'd like to keep our names simple so that people know it's like eventing radio show, dressage radio show. Well, this is going to be a very general Western show covering many, many topics. And so it's the westernradioshow.com.
That's fun. They were really fun to talk with and to listen to. I'm excited. I will tune in.
I know. I can't wait. I told them that we want to be on their show.
So, I know. We made them promise.
And they did
if you get the job, you have to have us on as guests.
And I had a long conversation with them both the other day, and they're just delightful, and they've already got 50 ideas of guests, and, they're already making phone calls. So that should be starting in the next, I would say, 3 to 4 weeks probably. And we will make that announcement, of course, have them on and chat with them again as soon as they get their show up and running. So that's the Western Radio Show. It's not yet, but it will be at westernradioshow.com. So I'm very excited about that. We've had so many requests for a Western show. And we've been trying to do more Western on ours here, but theirs will be dedicated to it.
Yeah.
Now,
the world is going Western. It feels like the world is going Western. We just get so excited about it.
Well, you know what, too? They're a fun group. Just like last week, we did the drill team show, which was a lot of fun. They're inviting us to go down there. And then I found out after, we got that invitation to go down there and spend a couple days with them during that national competition, the Super Ride. And then I found out that Alan Moorhead, who's the one we just talked about, going to be the new co-host of the Western show, is announcing that one.
Oh,
yes.
Are you going to go? Are you going to go?
I know, I should. And barbecue and brisket.
I need to see again.
Because every show, if I don't mention food, you're disappointed. So
all about the food. It's all about the food.
Now, we're recording this on April 1st, and we're recording it a little bit early, and you have had the most horrendous rain ever in Rhode Island. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. And where we are, for whatever reason, I think probably because we're essentially at sea level here, all of the water in my town drains right into the ocean. So I don't think we were as backed up as the rest of Rhode Island, or even I was up on the North Shore of Boston yesterday. They have flooding as bad as the 2005 Mother's Day storms. That was the rivers were just up over their banks and in people's basements, and there were ducks in places the ducks just had no right to be. But Rhode Island, I think the worst thing about Rhode Island is the Pawtuxet River.
Yes.
That came up and over its banks and all the communities around there. So, but where I am, like I said, Grace and I were coming back from shopping the other day we were driving down a few streets and we had to stop, back up, go the other way because we couldn't get through.
I know my brother's over in eastern Connecticut, not too far from you actually. And they were having horrendous flooding. He's a fireman, and he hasn't been home for 2 days. I mean, they've been out rescuing people and all kinds of things.
Yeah, but the sun is out today. It's about 60 degrees. It's gorgeous. And, at least on our property, wherever there were puddles and ponds, that seems to be all absorbed.
I was afraid the ocean would be lapping at your door there.
Driving past like any saltwater or brackish areas where the ocean actually meets, I don't want to say the ocean meets fresh water, but where the ocean comes inland a little bit and you can see where the tide is high and low, I didn't notice that being affected by the rains. I'm sure it has, but I don't know. There's some kind of, and me, the environmental science major, I really know what I'm talking about.
So
it's not bad.
You have a trip coming up too, don't you?
I'm going to Aiken for the first time ever.
Oh, really?
I am beside myself with excitement.
We should tell people where Aiken is.
Aiken is in South Carolina, and it's turning out to be the hub of horsey life in the American South.
And are you going down there shopping?
I'm going shopping. You know me, I can't do just one thing, so I'm multitasking. I have family that lives in Columbia, which is not too far from Aiken, so we're going to see some family. My husband and daughter are coming with me, and then I'm going to hop on over to Aiken and try some horses.
there you go. You're going to go see our friend Craig Thompson?
I am, yes.
Are you really?
Craig and Sarah, yes. They've done some really cool things with Shadow Lane Farm. In addition to Craig being a phenomenal 3-day eventer, he's also quite the farmer.
Huh.
And
they've, know that.
Yeah,
I can't see Craig out there in the tractor with his big straw hat.
Oh yeah, he's out there with pigs and chickens and.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're becoming, Shadow Lane Farm is becoming quite popular down in South Carolina, not only for, like I said, for Craig's accomplishments as an eventer, but for the produce that they're creating on their farm.
It is all about color this spring at Equestrian Collections. That's right, fun colors are all the trend in the spring equestrian apparel lines, with pinks, blues, and teals leading the way. Lots of colors and coordinates with leading manufacturers like Iridian, Carrots, Ariat, and Equine Couture, to just name a few. You can find thousands of options for your spring riding wardrobe or casual wardrobe at equestriancollections.com. And don't forget to use the coupon code HORSERADIO. That's Horse Radio, all one word, in the coupon code section when you check out, and you'll get $10 off your next order of $120 or more at equestriancollections.com. So, all right, well, we should probably get to our guest today, shouldn't we?
Yes, we should.
All right. So you want to introduce here?
Yeah. We have Dr. Jolene Elston, and she's part of the R&D team at Professional's Choice. And I'll tell you a little bit about her. She started riding before the age of 5, so she's one of those early starters. She got her first pony when she was 8 years old. She has a pretty impressive riding resume that includes accomplishments in the United States Pony Club. She's achieved her silver and bronze medals in the U.S. Dressage Federation, and she competed as an alternate on the Region 7 Young Riders team. Dr. Elston has set her focus on dedicating her life to the equine performance world. In her teens, she became a technician at a small animal hospital and moved on to a 5-year technician spot at the renowned San Luis Rey Equine Hospital. She received her bachelor's degree at Washington State in biology and zoology, and then her doctorate from Washington State University Veterinary School. Following her doctorate, she accepted an internship position at the highly acclaimed Pioneer Equine Hospital in Oakdale, California. So at this point, she knows what she's doing.
Yeah, I think she's probably qualified.
In 2007, Dr. Elston joined the practice of Large Animal Veterinary Associates in San Diego, California, where she continues to practice. She has a specific interest in lameness issues and performance horse medicine, and now she's recently joined the team at Professional's Choice. So we're going to talk to her about boots, horse boots, why they're needed, when, and how to find the right ones for you and your horse.
All right, great. Well, let's get her on the phone.
So welcome, Dr. Jolene Elston. We're very happy to have you with us today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Now, you'll have to forgive me. I mean, Glenn, you definitely have to forgive because, like you said, he really doesn't know anything about horse boots. And I know very little because my horses have never actually needed boots that I know of. So we're hoping that you can guide us through some of the Professional's Choice products, as well as boots in general, and why horses need them, and how you can figure out whether or not your horse needs them. And we went to the Professional's Choice website and went through some of your products, and I picked out the ones that some I knew about and some I didn't know about. And so we have this little list that we can go over. Are you willing to give this a try with us?
Absolutely.
Okay. The first thing we're going to talk about are these, they're called leather protection boots. And they look pretty fancy. I think I've seen some dressage riders using them. But what are they? What do they do? And who needs them?
All right. So let's just start off saying I think everybody needs boots. I ride horses all 4 legs booted up. My young horses, even turned out in pasture, are going out for their initial time with boots out and turnout. We are warming up, cooling down, doing all of our work in boots. So I think everybody should be booted, just protection-wise. So if we're starting off with this leather protection boot, this is more similar to our splint boot. It's just a basic interference type boot. It's not as much support for it, but it does have this nice leather outer that conforms the leg and some ultra shock padding and dense fleece, which allows a lot of protection just from the thickness, from interference, when they're working. A lot of dressage riders do really like these before shows just because they're real fast to get on and off right before classes for your grooms to help you out. I probably have most people using them for light work, nothing high strain, but I think a little better than a basic split boot for sure. So.
Now, what do you mean when you say interference?
When I'm talking about interference, these are more like just from legs, horses brushing or hitting their own legs when they're moving by traveling too close. Also, a lot of jumper type people like these boots if they hit a rail, or people with cattle or anything else, just general from blunt trauma, either from the horse or from rails or other things like that.
And I guess the next step up from those in your lineup would be your I don't know if it is or not, but what I would guess would be your most popular boots is the SMB boots, which I've used in the past, and you see with a lot of the Western rider, everybody uses SMB boots.
Yeah, they're pretty popular now.
Yeah, and that's your sports medicine boot, I should qualify.
Yep, that's actually the best-selling product that we have. It's actually my favorite. We do have an update, the Ventec, but the reason that these SMB sports medicine boots are so much better is just because they have this strap down around the fetlock and actually really supports all those flexor tendons. When horses actually bear weight, that fetlock drops down and actually all those tendons and ligaments are stretching. So this actually really protects that drop and gives all those tendons a lot of support. The strap here comes right down under the fetlock, and so all that dropping action is really decreased. So
now, who do you recommend them for? Is this an everybody boot, or is this for specific?
This is an absolute everybody boot. I think that the biggest reason to wear a boot is to protect your tendons and ligaments. And to me, these other boots that are not going below the fetlock aren't really protecting the strain from hard work or deep footing or things like that. These are actually keeping you from this medial to lateral. It's like a strain sprain from taking an uneven step, all those collateral ligaments. And then I got to say, for my people that are like my dressage, people really sitting down and doing these piaffe, dressage, or pirouette type work, they are really taxing these suspensory ligaments and branches. And this lower strap just comes up at this perfect 45-degree angle and really kind of mirrors those suspensory ligaments. So I think it's a great design. It's been imitated by a lot of people, but I think the great thing about this professional choice is that they have a patent on this limestone neoprene, and that's versus other companies that actually use a polyurethane. The polyurethane is more of a plastic, and they tend to crack and tear. I have a pair of SMBs I brought into a meeting here, and they were 18 years old. So, I mean, they just last. I have trouble throwing them out, so I use them for other things, like ice scoops or, can't get rid of them. So.
And these are the ones that all the rodeo guys use, right?
Yep, you'll probably see them on all the Western Performance. And I'm actually a dressage rider, and I've always kept my horses booted in these boots, and we're trying to help inform more the English society about what great boots they are. There's been some concern in the English society that, they're not going to be as breathable or not as flexible. So they've come out with a new Ventec design. Ventec design is a ventilated material that it's actually the neoprene is ventilated, and they have perforated ultrashock lining on these boots. So they do add a little more flex. Some of our jumpers are concerned that you're not going to get enough flexion in the fetlock when you're coming over fences. So this has a higher cut in the front, and it's a little more contoured. It has a little more give, so better fit. It's not as people are concerned about heat. I've never noticed a problem with heat, but if people have concerns over heat, these vents help the breathability a little bit, and we found that no dirt is penetrating them, so they're kind of great. But yeah, absolutely, I'd say all the Western Performance reiners, cutters are showing in these professional choice boots, and we're trying to keep our English society informed that this is a great way to go. And we've actually shown that this material does absorb 26% of the energy from impact. So if you think about coming over fences or things like that, that's huge. And I'm sure you guys have all seen those pictures of a horse jumping on a fence and landing on those front legs. And
I know.
just drop close to the ground. And even if you could just even get a couple pounds of weight off that front end, I think that's huge in decreasing all your strain and potential tears. Little strains end up accumulating over time and end up with these injuries. So, and the tendons are so prone to injury because there's such a small cross-sectional area for all this weight of the horse. So to me, anything you can do to help give a little extra support goes a long way, keeps horses in work longer. So I'm a big fan.
Well, what would you say that these boots are appropriate for a horse who, say, like, you know, there are lots of horses that come off the track and they have these new careers as jumpers or hunters or whatever. And a lot of times they do come off the track with some soft tissue injuries. Would you recommend this kind of boot in helping them get back, you know, as they regain their strength, as they're healing? How would this boot or this type of boot play in that type of transition?
This boot actually is going to be huge in any underlying tendon injury. The problem with tendon injuries is that they heal with scar tissue, not the nice elastic collagen. So it's very prone to re-injury. So that actually is, I think, a reason why Professional's Choice gets a lot of people coming back to their product or starting to use their product is after they have horses with injury. They look for the Professional's Choice because it does give that extra support to all the flexors and tendons. So that is a huge market that we see. But I prefer people start with these boots so we don't end up with the tendon ligament injury. But absolutely, you're going to see less re-injury with this type of supportive boot. So.
No, this is a question that taps into your education, your medical background. What percentage, or is there a percentage that you can say the scar tissue, that soft scar tissue, is weaker than the original healthy tissue? Are there studies that prove how much weaker it is once it's injured?
It's not necessarily the weakness. It's just it doesn't heal with the same tissue. Usually tendons are crimped. They're just a lot of fiber packets that are very regularly arranged. So healing, they don't heal. They heal with a kind of fibrocartilage or scar, so it tends to just tear around the edges. It's almost like putting a metal staple in a leather belt. So it's just going to want to tear around the edges of that scar tissue. I don't necessarily have a percentage, but it is not the same tendon.
It's just weaker and generally not as, it can't withstand the same types.
The scar heals with is actually rigid. It doesn't give, it doesn't have the crimping and the elasticity, so it doesn't stretch at all. So it just wants to tear around, and that's the big problem with tendon injuries.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do we worry about, can I throw this in here? Do we worry about people using boots to mask symptoms when they shouldn't be, when they shouldn't be taking the horse into that particular discipline at that time or that activity at that time? Are we worried about the boots actually, aiding them in using the horse further than they should? I don't know if I asked that right.
Well, I guess I see what you're saying. If the horse has an underlying lameness issue, always a thorough veterinary examination, lameness exam is always indicated, because tendon injuries, a lot of pain goes away after inflammation is gone, but the horse still has that hole or tear in the tendon. So obviously boots are never going to be the next step in the horse becoming sound again. You would use the boots in your work with your rehab program that your veterinarian's already predefined.
Not as a rehab program.
They're not work with the boot. You're going to gradually load that structure and get back to work over months. But definitely the boot could prevent strain that would be more prone to re-injure that tendon. So when you're coming back to work with the boot on, it's just a little more supportive, so less likely to let that horse take those bad steps to put that extra strain that's going to let it re-tear. So more of a prevention of further injury. Probably the most common tendon injury is just swelling in the tendon, or tendonitis or desmitis. And a little inflammation in the tendon can lead to tearing because the structures aren't able to move in their nice aligned fiber pattern. So just having these boots on can decrease the strain that causes inflammation that causes the holes and the tears in the future. So just kind of keeps everything happier and quieter, but definitely not to not have an exam or not to, mask anything. So
we like happier and quieter. That's what we strive for.
Give the tendons of personality there.
That's Helene and I's motto. It's just happy and quiet.
Yep, that's
not
the way
so
we like
quiet,
to be
actually. We've never been accused of being quiet, either one of us. That's true, yeah.
All right, so now I have, the next question is, there are bell boots and there are overreach boots, and I know that you guys carry both. What's the difference between the two, and let's talk about them. When would we use either one?
I think that the boots become a little bit of a personal preference. I think they're both wonderful products because they have this, professional's choice ultra shock type material. The ballistic overreach has an added benefit of it has a molded area in the back heel area with their special ballistic material.
It's bulletproof?
That is, sorry, what was that?
I said it's bulletproof? Ballistic bulletproof? No,
yeah, it's the same material that says as Kevlar. Yep.
Is it really? I was just joking.
Nope, it's the same material. So if you think about when those horses are overreaching, like a hind foot comes up and clips a front heel, the ballistic right there at the heel is actually molded around right there in the base of the heel so the boot doesn't spin around, and it adds that extra protection right there at the heel where they really need it. So if they're hitting, it'll absorb a lot more. I still have a lot of clients that love just the standard bell boots, just I think for ease of application or fit, but I think this ballistic overreach boot just has added benefit. It doesn't spin, so you're not going to have rub marks or sores that may happen with other products. And there is just that added protection of this thicker ballistic material right there at the heel, exactly where you need it.
That I'm looking at these and I'm thinking about the regular rubber bell boots and how much they spin, and one side gets flipped upside down, and they're just a great big mess. And the overreach boots look a little bit more, because they're molded, it looks almost like they'd be more effective at their job of protecting. Is that, do you find that to be the case?
I truly feel that these ballistic overreach boots are much more protective, and because they don't move, everything is right where you need it. And even Professional Choice's standard quick wrap boot is better than your average plastic bell boot because it just has that nice shock absorbing material versus a thin layer of plastic that's just pretty much going to keep you from getting pretty much a cut on your heel. You can still get contusions and swelling from a plastic bell boot, whereas these other have, the ultra shock material really absorbs the impact. So absolutely.
Okay, so that's okay. Now, when would you know that for overreach boots, would you put them on horses that overreach all the time, sometimes, even if you've never seen it before? Would you recommend?
I put it on all horses all the time. I personally don't have horses that overreach, but if you think about almost any event you do, you have a potential for horses stepping on themselves, youngsters being trained that don't know where their feet are. You think about, like my dressage horse, doing movements that are lateral, stepping over themselves. If they take a misstep, they'll end up stepping on themselves. Jumpers, hitting rails. There's so many, I think, trail horses. Every time I go on trail, I'm wearing these boots. So if they're stepping on rocks or other things that can protect them. Out here in Southern California, people like the boots for protection against snake bites even. Simple things like that. So I would put them on any horse when they're out, turnout, or being worked, just for the protection. A lot of people also like them to keep shoes on. There's a lot of horses that are fit really full at the heel or may have therapeutic shoes on, and the bell boots can keep horses' shoes on too.
So how do they do that? They prevent the hind foot from stepping on the back of the shoe, the front shoe?
Yep, or the other front foot from coming over and stepping on the inside of that front shoe and bending a shoe. So either way, I love them. I don't have overreaching horses, and they're always in bell boots.
Okay. So if you are someone who let's say you're just not a big boot fan and sort of less is more, but what would you say if your horse does this, then I definitely recommend boots?
If you're hand walking your horse or when you work your horse, if you hear that clicking sound of them actually hitting, or if you've noticed they get nicks on their heel bulbs or other things, that's a really good spot. I've actually had to take proud flesh, that extra granulation tissue off of heel bulbs, just from a silly overreach wound. So definitely if you have an abrasion, a laceration, if you hear that clicking sound when they're walking, if you're having trouble with pulled shoes, those are absolutely horses that I put them on. You can also watch a horse from the front, and if you see that they're traveling closely, almost brushing, because of how close they move, those would also be big candidates.
Okay. All right, I'm getting such an education here. Okay, so moving on to, now there may be some overlap here because, what I'm going to ask you about next is the competitor splint boots or splint boots in general. They may do the same thing as the leather protection boots. I'm not sure. What do they do and how might they be different from the other boots we've talked about so far?
Yeah, to me, that these splint boots, they're not as supportive because we don't have that drop below the fetlock. We don't have that nice suspensory type strap here. They're just a basic interference boot again, just light protection. I think for people, they like these because they're really easy to get on and off very fast. They're very flexible. They don't slip. I think that you're going to get more protection against this interference or just contusions from the leather protection boot, just from the extra fleece and extra padding. But, traditionally, a lot of people are really, really used to these splint boots with just a little extra leather on the inside of the leg. You see these all the time. So just buying the Pro Choice version of it, you're better off because their neoprene is limestone, so they're going to last longer. But to me, they're just a light work, easy on and off. I wouldn't do any really hard work, maybe just lunging or light turnout or something like that. So, but very similar to the leather protection boot. The leather protection boot is just going to be a step up from that.
Okay. So I'm looking at, no, forgive me, because I'm looking at the splint boots, and I see so many people or so many horses with these on. The interference that we're talking about, because these it looks like they have the protection on the inside of the leg. So when a horse is moving, it looks like there's a fair amount of, obviously if they're not completely crooked, it looks like there's a fair amount of space or width between the two front legs. How often is it, and how does it happen that they interfere, which I'm guessing you mean is they hit the opposite leg with the front hoof? So that's like interference from their own body, which...
Yes. So,
interfere, in other words, being hit with like brush or jumps or rocks, that makes total sense. But interfering with themselves, with their own feet, how does that happen?
So it could be as basic. It could be as basic as their anatomy. They're narrow horses. They're the toe out or toe in conformation, so they wing or paddle. So they have an abnormal foot flight. It doesn't track in a straight line. That's possible. Other things are for work, like if you're Western performance people spinning, you're crossing over your front leg, so you're more prone, and that's at a speed too, so you're more prone to come over that front and hit. Same thing with anyone that's doing any lateral work, so the dressage people, half pass, leg yield, shoulder in, haunches in, you're not really tracking in a straight line, so you're more prone to step on yourself that way. And then obviously the fences and all the rest of that. But sliding stops too, and those back feet are coming up really close to front feet, and you name it. Polo, think about all those mallets and hooves flying. So there's a lot of
I'm thinking bubble wrap for that.
Yeah, we do need some bubble wrap. So.
And Dr. Elston, I know that you also have there in the room with you have Michelle Scott. Is that right?
We do.
I'm here.
Hey,
Hi.
Michelle, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay. Now I know that it was your dad actually that founded Professional's Choice, right?
That's correct.
And now are you full time with the company now? Because I know you have a little other thing you do too.
Yes, I am full time now with the company, and I do have a side job as well.
Yeah, when do you have time for your side job? Why don't you tell everybody what your little side job is?
I'm an author. I am a mystery author, and I write a couple of mystery series. So when do I have time to do that these days?
Let's not underplay that. You do the Wine Lovers mystery series, don't you?
Yes, I did the Wine Lovers mystery series,
which is very popular. So
yeah, it's been a fun series to write. I write that series, and I write also a Horse Lovers mystery series that has been pretty popular as well. When I'm writing these days, it's usually at night and on the weekend. So I'm here full time, and I try to get my writing in the evening and on the weekend. But, I also have a little girl. I have 3 kids, but my youngest is very involved with Pony Club and eventing. And so I just try to make time for all of it. It just fits in where it can.
Yeah, I was going to say, because, writing is such a... Are you one of those people that needs absolute quiet when you're... I guess you'd never get that, would you?
No. I've been writing for years. And like I said, I have 3 kids. So when I was writing when they were little kids, there's never any peace and quiet. So I've really learned to work with noise quite well.
I guess so. So
yeah.
Let's talk about the future here. Is there new things coming in boots? Are there new boots coming down the pike here in the next year or two that are using new technology and that kind of thing?
Well, look, we always have new stuff coming on board. Right now, we are working closely with Gina Miles, who won the silver medal in Beijing.
Yeah. She's been on the show a couple times, yep.
Yep, and so we're working with her on actually putting a bit line together. And
oh, really?
Yeah, and I'm looking at doing a combined training type of boot. We really believe that what the sports medicine boot does and the elite boot does is what every horse needs. But sometimes convincing everybody out there that that's the case isn't always easy. So we're really happy to have Dr. Elstrom on board with this because she's been a huge fan of ours since she was a kid, we found out. But we always have new developments and new things going on around here.
Well, you know what? Having Gina on the team isn't a bad thing either.
No, Gina, she's delightful and a lot of fun to work with.
Well, that's great. Now, how long has Professional's Choice been around?
We've been in business for 35 years now.
I was going to say, you've
so
been in business.
We've been around. We really, I would have to say that my parents started the industry. I mean, for leg care with horses. They really, you didn't have this kind of protection for horses 35 years ago.
Right.
So it's been an evolutionary process, and now a lot of people have jumped on the bandwagon, but we are the original, we are the best, and there are many reasons behind that. We do a lot of research and development. Nothing goes out of here without extensive studies and testing and really going through a whole process before we put anything on the shelf.
And as we talked about earlier, I think that especially the SMBs and some of the other boots have been more accepted in the Western side, but I'm starting to see a lot more of them on the English side as well.
Yeah, especially in the eventing world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think you're going to see more of that. We're putting more focus in those areas, and a horse is a horse. I don't care what they do discipline-wise. They've got 4 legs. They need protection. And our belief around here is every horse needs our product. And our basic philosophy is that we set out to make the horse more comfortable, and to have their careers long-laster, and we just really want to see the life of the horse be an easier life, because let's face it, they weren't put here to do some of the things we have them do, and they're our partners in life, and so we're really obviously pro horses around here.
Well, I have to say, I drove my pony up to the age of 30, and I think that part of the reason that we could do that was SMB boots. She wore SMB boots every time we drove her, and she took us on some long trips. We belonged to a carriage club at that time, and that was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure you get thousands of those stories every day.
We do. We really do. it's very rewarding to hear stuff like that, and we hear it often. So it's great to be involved and working closely with my dad and being here every day now, just because of what we do for horses.
Well, that's great. And we're also going to put in our show notes a link to Amazon to your books too.
Oh, thank you.
Because that's just kind of cool.
After we buy 9 or 10 for ourselves.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's nice to know too that you don't need a specific reason to put these supportive boots on your horse, other than it's a good preventative measure. You know, just because you don't need them doesn't mean you don't need them.
Well, yeah, everybody needs them. I mean, in all honesty, look at how
sort
much
of like
weight
husbands, huh,
they're
Helena?
Exactly, like husbands.
It's kind of like you wouldn't send a runner out with tennis shoes on, you know. I mean, with good shoes. So that's the way I look at it. It's dressing them correctly.
Right, they're doing things that they weren't designed genetically designed to do. So we kind of have to make some accommodations for their bodies.
Yep.
Well, that's great, guys. You know, it's good to talk to you. Actually, I was in the retail business for a long time, and we sold a lot of your boots. So it's nice to actually get you on the air here and chat about them a little bit. And what's your website address?
It is, so it's www.profchoice.com. So PROF as in Frank, choice.com.
And you guys also are active on Facebook?
Yes, we are. Active on Facebook and active on Twitter.
I follow you both places, so I get your updates all the time, and you do a great job on your Facebook page.
I got to get there.
Well, we're actually in the process of putting a blog together. So you'll see probably Dr. Elston doing some blogging and some of our endorsees and a variety of things that are going to go out on the blog. So we'll be posting that on Facebook when that goes live, which should be pretty soon.
And you can just search for Professionals Choice on Facebook and find their fan page. Yeah, so that's great. Well, we appreciate you being on, and we'll have you back again sometime when we're talking more about boots. And actually, we just announced today that we're going to be starting our first Western show. It's called the Western Radio Show, and that'll be starting in the middle of April. We have 2 fantastic hosts that are going to be hosting that, so I'm sure they'll be having you on here at one point or another.
That would be great. We really appreciate you having us on as well.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Well, do you feel more educated now, Helena?
I do, but I could go on for, another 2 hours. I have to know, like, if she could just make a video for me, that would be great. That would be great. But I do feel, I always wondered why everybody has these boots on, and I like the idea of prevention and support. I really do.
Right.
I really do. And because I'm like the less is more type of person, but I think it was Michelle had a great point in that we are asking horses to do things that they are not naturally designed to do. So we do have to accommodate that. And I think a supportive boot makes great sense. And I'm totally about, I don't even like to take aspirin, just go au naturel. But she's really opened my mind to this, the supportive boot idea. And I feel better.
And I don't think people realize that how popular her wine lovers mystery series is.
I have never heard of it before.
It's huge. Yeah, it's huge.
Oh.
She has a good thing going there.
I'll have to tell Peter about that.
Yeah. I've never read one of her books, but I've definitely heard of them.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's great. Well, that's neat that you were able to get them on and to talk a little bit about that. We hope everybody has learned a little bit. You can find links to all these products with pictures and everything in our show notes at stablescoop.com. And episode number 86. We're going to be at 100 soon. We're going to have a party or something.
Oh, my.
For 100.
That's, 14 weeks away? End of the summer?
Maybe at the end of the summer, yeah.
Maybe we'll have to come out to Kentucky for 100th episode.
I know, that'd be great.
Perfect excuse.
We could have a party.
Okay.
We'll have to find an exotic location to record. We'll do an off-site.
Oh, again, you introducing the degree of difficulty. Like, it's not hard enough for me to get out there. It wasn't hard enough to reach 100 episodes. We got to go do it from a cliff.
That's right. The Natural Bridge here in Kentucky. We'll run an extension cord about a mile up the hill there.
Let's just send smoke signals. Podcast the old-fashioned way.
All right, very good. Well, this has been fun. You can find all of the links to our iTunes and Zune and all that stuff on the website as well. Our contact link is there. One thing we want to know, and we really want you to take a minute to write to us, You can find a contact link on the website at stablescoop.com. We want to know when you listen. Do you listen when you're cleaning stalls? Do you listen when you're driving? Do you listen at work? Are you supposed to listen at work? Are you not allowed to listen at work but do anyway? You know, when do you listen? In the morning when you're having your coffee? We want to know when you listen. So drop us an email. We'd love to hear from you about when you listen. And, of course, you can follow us at Twitter at Horse Radio and Helena at
Helena_BEE.
All right, and be sure to check out all the other great shows on the network at horseradionetwork.com. Well, we're going to be back again next week, Helena.
With the mystery scoop.
Well, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's a wrap, I think.
It's okay. Yeah.
Let's go eat some lunch.
Okay.
Back to food again.
Yeah, always.